how many Subriel Matias opponents do we need to see trying to come inside, walking forward, and trying to flush Subriel Matias out of the pocket before they figure out that that just ain't the way? What's good? It's Woog. We've got Subriel Matias, 20 wins and 1 loss, defending his IBF super lightweight or junior welterweight 140-pound title against Liam Paro, 24 wins and 0 losses. This fight is taking place the same day as Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin and that Amazon pay-per-view card. So this one's actually flying under the radar. This fight's going to be on DAZN as Subriel Matias, recently signed a deal with Matchroom. So there's actually a lot of fight taking place on that same day. I think Billiam-Smith versus Riakporhe is also taking place on that same day. But Subriel Matias has been buzzing in, I would say, the last year to 2 years because of his style of fighting and his tougher than leather reputation and ability to kind of be unbreakable while breaking his opponent. And he is one of the 4 belt holders at 140. He's not one of the more glamorous ones. He's not Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney. But Matias has developed this hard-nosed reputation among boxing fans that's really made him kind of one of these must-see attractions in the sport. And I think he first started landing on a few radars for one of the more unfortunate reasons. He's got the unfortunate experience of having killed a fighter. When he fought Maxim Dadashev in July of 2019, Dadashev unfortunately later died due to the injury sustained in that fight with Matias. This resulted in a Matias win via 11th round TKO, and Dadashev died shortly thereafter. One of those tragedies in the sport. And Matias, like other fighters who've experienced this unfortunate type of incident, has spoken about how much that experience kind of ate at him and devastated him. But over time, he seems to have kind of made it out of that and has been able to pursue and continue to pursue his boxing career. And then I think that he started landing on more radars when he was on the Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 2 undercard. That was where he suffered his only loss against Petros Ananian via unanimous decision in a very competitive fight. This was a unanimous decision win for Ananian, and then Matias kind of went on a rampage after that, stopping Malik Hawkins in the 7th round, and then fighting who I kind of consider to be arguably Matias's toughest opponent, Batir Jukembayev. And this was such a brutal fight. And if you want to see in one snapshot what Subriel Matias is all about, check out Matias versus Jukembayev. Jukembayev, by the way, you might have seen recently on Pro Box, dominating and stopping a, I would say, over the hill Ivan Redkach. But Jukembayev is another one of those tougher than leather fighters, and Matias versus Jukembayev was pretty much fireworks from beginning to end. These guys were just fighting this who's gonna break style of fight. And inexplicably, that seems to be the way that other opponents have been trying to fight Subriel Matias. And I just, for the life of me, I don't get it. But Jukembayev, he was bringing the pain to Matias, and they were just rocking sock'em. I mean, they were trading hooks. They were just in the phone booth, in the elevator, if you will. And this was just kind of a head-to-head, nose-to-nose. So one person break off 3 to 5 punches, the next person break off 3 to 5 punches, and it was just this back and forth tit for tat fight. Well, it was Jukembayev who ended up breaking, and Matias stopped Jukembayev in the 8th round. Again, if you want a very exciting, just exhilarating style of fight where it's almost brutal to watch, and this was appropriately at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. What did they call it? The War Zone, or I forgot what the nickname of formerly the StubHub Center. I forgot what they call that place, but I've been to 2 fights there. And if you look at the history of that venue, some of the most brutal and action-packed fights have taken place there. But yeah, it's only fitting that Matias versus Jukimbayev, which wasn't like a highly heralded fight, like it was on the undercard of another fight. But yeah, that fight took place there, and Matias won that one via 8th round TKO. And then Matias rematched the only guy to have beaten him, Petros Ananian, and this was another just rock'em sock'em tough, brutal fight where it was another one of those who's gonna break types of fights, and Matias ended up breaking Ananian in the 9th round. So in these fights that Matias is winning via stoppage, Matias is taking all kinds of punishment and punches. He just seems to be the more unbreakable fighter between the two. Like, that's kind of become his hallmark. I mean, he's taking shots like in his very next fight against Jeremias Ponce, which was a PBC headliner on Showtime. Jeremias Ponce just came up to Matias, started breaking him off with 7-punch combat. He threw over 100 punches, Ponce did, in the first round, like that was going to be the strategy to beat Matias. So again, he came in head over skis and brought the fight to Matias, making Matias's job a lot easier. I mean, yes, Ponce was rocketing Matias with heavy artillery. I mean, he was just blasting him, backing him up, just jerking his head back with a bunch of hooks and uppercuts and straight right hands. He looked like he was trying to get Matias out of there in 2 rounds. Well, guess what? Matias, once again, he ain't going anywhere. So 2nd round, 3rd round, you started seeing the tide changing, and then Matias ended up stopping Ponce in the 5th round. He dropped him in like the final 15 seconds of the 5th round, hurt him just before that. The 3rd round, I mean, I would say Ponce won the 1st round, Matias won the 2nd round, Ponce probably won the 3rd round, but it was close and brutal and tough. And then Matias kind of started taking over in the 4th round, and again, he stopped him at the end of the 5th round. Ponce went back to his corner. I didn't think that they were going to stop the fight. I know that Ponce had just gotten dropped, but he's sitting in, in his corner. They ended up stopping the fight. I mean, Matias is a devastating style of fighter, especially if you choose to fight him in his style. So his next fight was against Ergashev, where, to be fair, I actually picked Ergashev to win that one. I thought that Ergashev had enough range and distance management where he was going to be in and out, throwing a couple shots at a time, then getting back out and then getting back in and fighting that style of fight. But Ergashev, like Ponce, like Ananian, like Jukimbayev, looked like he was trying to take Matias out in the first couple of rounds. Like Matias's first rounds and first couple of rounds are always like, damn, is Matias going to be able to handle this? Well, yeah, Matias is going to be able to handle that. And he handled it against Ergashev, who again was breaking him off in the first round. And then by like the 3rd round, 4th round, you started feeling sorry for Ergashev, because then you start seeing Matias start to walk Ergashev down. You start seeing Ergashev looking like he's in all types of distress. And then it just starts getting worse and worse for Ergashev, and he ends up quitting after the 6th round. So that's 2 consecutive opponents that are no mas on Matias. I haven't seen this type of, hey, I'm good, since Prime Lomachenko, for very different reasons. But yeah, Matias is just breaking down his opponents. He broke down Ergashev, broke down Ponce, Ananian in that rematch, Jukimbayev, and so forth. So Matias, again, he's developed and earned the reputation of kind of being this unbreakable fighter. He's a 32-year-old, he's from Puerto Rico, and now he's going to be fighting against Liam Paro, who is 28 years old, from Australia, who's a pretty good fighter himself and is a southpaw. But unlike Ergashev, Matias's last opponent, who's also a southpaw, Ergashev being a southpaw didn't seem to matter much because of the style of fight that he brought to Matias. I think that Liam Paro is going to fight a different style of fight where being a southpaw might actually matter. So unlike Matias's last opponents, Paro is more of a range and distance manager. Paro is a pretty good boxer. Boxes, again, at range. He's coming off of a knockout win over Montana Love. I actually attended that fight. That was in the Bay Area. It was on the Regis Prograis versus Devin Haney, even though it was billed Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis. That was on the undercard. And Montana Love pretty much got a lot of opportunity because of how he stopped Ivan Baranchyk on a Jake Paul undercard. It was either Jake Paul versus Ben Askren or the first Paul versus Woodley fight, one or the other. But Montana Love had a very inspired performance, going from, relatively unknown to stopping Ivan Baranchyk. Well, Liam Paro, after Montana Love was looking pretty good in the first couple of rounds, started to just light Montana Love up with the straight left hand. At a point, he couldn't miss with that left hand, and he ended up dropping Montana Love multiple times, stopped him, knocked him out in the 6th round. Just before that, Liam Paro knocked out Brock Jarvis in the 1st round. But before that, he fought a close split decision against Yomar Alamo, and that was on the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2 undercard, which was supposed to be Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury pulled out, so Tyron Woodley was a late replacement. So Liam Paro, like Montana Love, started building more of a reputation fighting on a Jake Paul undercard, but this was a very close 10-round split decision win for Liam Paro. Liam Paro signs with Matchroom, then he fights Brock Jarvis, and then Montana Love. So Liam Paro, good boxer puncher. He's got pretty quick hands, pretty good reflexes. He seems to have a pretty decent IQ as well. Now, he's got some punching power. 15 of his 24 wins have come via knockout, but not nearly the type of combustible power that Subriel Matias has. 20 of Matias's 20 wins, 100% of them have come via knockout. So there should be a power discrepancy. Although, again, I think that the style of fight matters. So when I'm really looking at Matias versus Liam Paro, not to say that I think Liam Paro is going to beat Subriel Matias, but I don't agree with the betting odds that I'm seeing. I'm seeing Subriel Matias as a 7-1 favorite, with Liam Paro going off at a plus 550, making him a 5.5-1 underdog. Again, not that I think Liam Paro is going to win, but I think that he will at least fight the style of fight that will give him a good chance at winning this one. I think that he could win rounds against Matias. I think he knows when to back up. I hope that he's seen enough film and has watched enough tape of Matias to know not to come in and act like he's trying to take Matias's head off. We've seen that, and that trick don't work. I think that you've got to move on Matias. You've got to make Matias use his legs. Now, some people, rightfully so, will say that Matias can actually move better than people think. Yes, Matias will stick a jab out to try to close range, but damn, turn the guy. Make him use his legs to come forward. Jab him and move. Make him have to hunt you down. Don't make his job easy by meeting him in the phone booth and starting to trade hooks with the guy. I think that Liam Paro is smart enough not to do that. I think that Liam Paro will make Matias try to cut the ring off, try to track him down. And I think that Liam Paro will throw those skillful straight left hands, will probe with the lead right hand. Both of these guys are about the same height. It's about a half an inch difference, with Matias being 5'9" and Paro 5'8.5". Both of these guys have a 71-inch reach. So in terms of the measurables, it's almost identical. And I think that Liam Paro is the more sudden puncher. So if it's like a tit for tat, sweet science type of chess match near the middle of the ring, I think Liam Paro could score some points and again win some rounds there. The question is, can he keep Matias off of him? Can he keep him off of his chest? Can he keep this fight at range? And then when Matias does come in and maybe Liam Paro starts to tire, because if you do move too much, you will get tired and have more difficulty moving skillfully in the middle and late rounds. So when Liam Paro encounters that, maybe he could step in and tie up, and then they separate, and then you circle, bring it back to the middle of the ring and start jabbing and moving again. If Liam Paro can fight that type of a fight, I think that he's got a shot here, way better than a 5.5 to 1 underdog. So I think that Liam Paro might have the tools to do it, or at least the tools not to get blown out by the middle of the fight and have to quit on his stool because this strategy of walking Matias down and beating him up in the phone booth and flushing him out of the pocket isn't working. I don't think that we're going to get that with Liam Paro. So the question is, can Liam Paro successfully execute on that strategy? I think that he can for at least the first few rounds, but I do think that Subriel Matias probably has underrated mobility, underrated ability to close the distance, to cut the ring off on somebody who's trying to move on him. We just haven't seen somebody really try that strategy. I think that we're going to get that more than we got it with Ergashev, who again, I thought would be able to do something like that, move skillfully and select and choose when to come in and exchange with the guy. I think that Liam Paro will do that more successfully than Ergashev did. But I think that at a point, Matias will start to force Paro to tire. And I think that Matias will be able to take Paro's power. Now, if Paro is able to box skillfully and land those clean left hands at Matias over the course of several rounds, then maybe we could get a Matias buckling by the middle and late rounds. But I think that it's more likely that Matias takes the power, starts to walk Paro down in the middle rounds. Paro starts to show that distress, becomes less elusive. Think Roman Villa versus Rashidi Ellis, where Ellis was able to box successfully and move through the first half of the fight, but started to tire in the second half of the fight, became less elusive, became easier to corner and to trap and to walk down and to hit. I think that Matias will start to have his way more often in the second half of the fight. And I think that, you know, like other Matias opponents, I think that Liam Paro will end up succumbing to that pressure. I mean, when Matias starts to get going, this guy will throw double and triple hooks. He will throw to the body with both hands. And this is another thing. I haven't seen enough guys try to go to Matias's body repeatedly. I mean, Jukimbayev did, and Ananyan did. But again, I think that you need to mix up the body attack with the movement and get Matias to use his legs more. So if Paro, like he did against Montana Love, he would jab low, look low, throw the left hand low, reset, dip, look low, then throw the left hand high. If he's able to mix up the attack while boxing, while moving, making Subriel Matias try to figure him out and try to corner him, and you could keep Matias off balance and hit him hard by mixing up the attack and catch him up top and then get back and continue moving, again, I think that you can have success. But once you start to fatigue, again, Matias will start just letting both hands go, throwing hooks with both hands, throwing uppercuts, mixing different styles of punches, even throwing kind of like one of those Golovkin-like overhands that kind of crack you like this, then mixing it up with uppercuts, right hooks, left hooks. Matias starts just pouring it on, and he seems to like hardly tire. He starts picking up the volume into the middle and later rounds. So if things start to go badly, and this is a title fight, so this is a 12 rounder, I think that Matias is going to start to force this to go badly for Paro in the middle rounds, and I think he's going to start letting his hands go, and I think that we will see Liam Paro, like other Matias opponents, begin to wilt. So again, I think Paro's got the tools to do it. I just think that Matias might even be a little bit better than some of us, including myself, think he is at cutting the ring off and fighting a sweet scientist who is trying to control range and box at a distance rather than coming in on Matias. I'm curious to see it. Again, look, I'm going to go with Matias via late stoppage here, but I am tempted to put a little money on the 5.5 to 1 underdog, Liam Paro. So I just want to be transparent about that. I'm thinking about betting Paro because the odds are lopsided, but my pick in terms of most likely outcome, I think that Matias will get it done, and I think he's going to get it done via stoppage. I do think that Liam Paro is going to have some success. The question is, how long can he sustain that success against Subriel Matias? But yeah, I'm going Matias via like 9th through 11th round stoppage. If he stops Paro like by the middle rounds, I would be pretty damn impressed, because again, I don't think that Liam Paro is just gonna serve himself on a platter for Matias by fighting Matias' style of fight. I think that Matias is going to have to fight such a Matias style of fight that he stops Paro from fighting Paro's style of fight. But yeah, let me know what you think about this one in the comments. Again, I'm going Subriel Matias via late stoppage. Let me know what you think, and how do you think Matias, if he gets past Paro, how do you think he would do against the other champions in the division? And if you think that a non-champion would have a decent shot at beating Matias, let me know, like another top 10 140 guy, because this division is super stacked. In fact, I mean, this same weekend, we're getting Gary Antoine Russell versus the former 140-pound title holder who got stripped due to PED positive test, Alberto Puello. That's going to be a good fight. But yeah, who do you think in the division has a good shot at beating Subriel Matias? Let me know your thoughts. And please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.